You ever notice how dads get praised for doing the bare minimum? Like, I pick up my daughter, we go out for a walk, and people be like, wow, what a present father. And in my mind, I'm like, what? What do you mean? She's my child. I didn't babysit her. I'm just parenting. It's not a big deal. Shouldn't be a big deal. It's crazy, right? But anyway, welcome to Intellectual Intimacy, a hub for curious minds, deep thinkers, and anyone striving to grow intellectually and emotionally. My name is Dutuwo. I'm from Gomshabialingan, Kongwana, Semangos, Escotin Sasenkatwin, and this is episode 2. Before anything, man, I just want to say thank you to everyone who took their time to watch episode 1. I was looking at the analytics of the first episode, and it really blew my mind because it showed that 71%, or just above 71% of everyone that watched the first episode, meaning that 71% of 180 people watched the video all the way to the end. That's insane. I appreciate it. That's a step in the right direction, and I hope that we continue to grow and just be something big. I appreciate it and thank you. Okay, today's episode is highly inspired by the conversation that I had in Nkulu a couple of days ago. So we're driving to the shops just to get, Nkulu is my wife, by the way. We're driving to the shops to get something for the baby, and then the conversation ensued. We started talking, we spoke about a lot of things, but the conversation was just centered around motherhood and how mothers are affected by motherhood. And then from that conversation, I realized something I'd never thought about, well, at least not in a way that I think about it now that I've had this conversation. And that is how men and women experience parenting very differently. As men, it's easy for me to say, or it's easy for us to say, I want 5 kids, 10 kids, even a whole football team of children. But what we don't think about is a person who has to carry those children. If there's one thing I've learned about pregnancy and a woman in the little time that I've been married is that a woman doesn't just have a baby. She doesn't just give birth to a baby and that's it. She gives herself to that process. Her body changes, her hormones shift, her energy is drained. And as soon as the baby comes, so does the responsibility. And here's where something called mom guilt comes in. See, I didn't fully know the weight of this thing. I mean, I've always known that this thing happens and it's actually a thing, but I just never knew that there was a term for it. So for those of you who don't know, mom guilt is a feeling that mothers have, the fear of choosing themselves over their child. You see, the fear of not doing enough. It's just the struggle of balancing being a person and being a mom. Let me tell you, that thing holds women back in ways we do not fully understand. And by we in this case, I'm referring to us men. Because you'll find a woman who had so many dreams, so many aspirations, and once she becomes a mother, everything just shifts all of a sudden. She starts putting herself last because that's what society conditioned her to do. She pours into her children, into her home, into making sure that everybody else is fine, is okay. Meanwhile, Tinangapa, the men of the house, the leaders, we just continue. We just continue living our life. We continue chasing our personal goals. We continue focusing on our hobbies. We continue chasing career. Now, woman or the mother, before she knows it, she looks up, she realizes that in so many years, 10, 15, 20 years, she hasn't done nothing for herself, nothing. And I think about this now more than ever because now I'm married, I'm a father, and I was raised by a single mother. So I know firsthand what it means for a woman to give up herself, to give up everything about her for her child. So the more I think about this, the more I reflect on it, the more I realize that Mom guilt is actually not just about a woman's personal emotions, it's more of a societal thing. Because here's the thing, men and women are built differently. And I'm not talking about biology in this case. I mean the way that we were conditioned to think about parenting. Because as men, it's easy for us to say, hey, lalela mabebeza, I'm going out, I'll be back. And then we leave. And while we're out, we don't think much about the well-being of the baby back home, because the baby's with the mother. Even if the baby's with the nanny, well, we don't worry too much whether the baby has eaten, whether the baby is crying, whether she's sleeping. We just assume that everything is fine. Well, but with mothers, I've noticed that I've seen this with my wife even. See, when I'm at home, when I'm left with the child, she calls, those daily check-ins during the day. Hey baby, how are you doing? I'm doing good. How is it doing yourself? I'm doing good. I'm all right. How's the day going? My day is going fine. And then the main reason for the call comes in, how's the baby doing? And it doesn't stop there. And I've replied, I know the baby's fine, baby. She's okay. Has she eaten? Yeah, she's eating. She's fine. Is she crying? Baby, I just said the baby is fine. Did she sleep yet? Baby, I said the baby is fine. You see, so it's just the consistent mental weights that never really goes away, man. And I believe it's inherent in women. It's something that you cannot take away from them. Yeah, and so that is why so many women put themselves on pause, because it's not just that they do not have the time. It's that even when they do, they feel guilty for taking it. Yeah, so what happens? They neglect themselves. They stop doing the things that make them feel alive. They put everything about themselves. They just put everything about them on hold. They lose touch with their passions, and then before they know it, they're in their 40s. They're chasing the 50s. And when they reflect, or they look back, they realize that they've been living a life that was completely centered around everybody else but themselves. And that is where the resentment comes in. That's where problems happen. And I don't even think that the resentment comes at the realization of the fact that they've been living a life that was completely centered around everybody else but them. I think it's something that just builds up. And when they realize it, it's probably already too late to work on it, in which case people just go for divorce, or people just say, I'm just living for my children, or I'm just staying in marriage because you understand that? But it's things that build up from way, way earlier in the marriage. For instance, just to put some insight into this, a woman gives birth, all right? A man and a woman come together, they get married. A man is busy with his career, chasing dreams. A woman is probably doing the same thing. Let's just say the woman is doing the same thing, chasing dreams, focus on the career and everything. Then boom, pregnancy strikes. The person who is expected to put their life on hold is a woman, right? Because society has conditioned us to believe that a woman's duty, or it's a woman's responsibility to care for the baby. First pregnancy strikes, and then a woman goes through a lot of physiological changes. Her body changes, the postpartum belly, the body dysmorphia, the mental changes that happen, the effects that come with pregnancy. It happens with a woman, and then she starts feeling less confident. Self-esteem shoots down, and just to top it all, she doesn't get enough help. And I hate to put it this way, but it's the reality. I hate to put it this way, that she doesn't get help, as though she's being helped to raise her only child, like her own child. It's her child alone, when in actuality, it's our child. Understand that? So I don't like the idea of helping my wife to care for the baby. I don't help my wife to care for the baby. It's our baby. So we're helping each other right here. But then, because it's the reality of society, yeah, she doesn't get much help. So she loses herself. She doesn't get time to focus on herself. Everything about her becomes about a child or about children, raising kids. So let's say for some reason she gets the strength to start working on herself, go to the gym, start to get back into shape. Understand? Me, I can't. Me, I'm a man. Now I tell her, listen, I was on my body goes now when I'm fast like hi. Was a lose all I was on nonsense. Fine. Boom, second baby. So all the efforts that she had put into getting back into shape, becoming the person that she was before pregnancy, all those efforts wiped away. Now she has to start all the way from scratch. All right? And that does something to a person. Understand that? It does something, even though at the time you might not realize it, but it definitely does something. I'm pretty sure it does something. Because you can't put so much effort and then it's just wiped away, just like that. It's not even your will. You don't want to do that. But because you're forced to do it, your effort's gone, just like that. You have to start over. Crazy. Okay, fine. Baby number one comes. Me, I said I want children. Understand? But I do not play a part in caring for those children. Me, what I do, I just release the seed and then the woman, because she will care for the baby. She will care for the children. Me, I continue. Me, I go out and make money and bring it at home. I understand that, because that's what society has taught us. It's actually it's not even a dynamic structure, it's a rigid structure that society has put into our minds of a beautiful marriage. A beautiful marriage is a man going out working, a wife staying at home, caring for the children, bearing children, looking after the house, doing all the chores. That's the duty of a wife. And then the husband goes out to work. Even in this century, even in this day and age, there are people that still believe that. But that's not the case. We're not there. Come baby number two, boom. Still, the responsibility to care for all these children fall on the mother. Me, I don't help. Me, I continue to go out with friends, continue chasing my dreams, personal goals, focusing on my hobbies and everything like that. Now, what does that do to a woman? And I think some people, women in this case, they think they're fine with this idea. But it's not really the fact that they're okay, it's just that their minds or their brains have come to accept that it's their reality. So because it's a norm, that means it's okay. It's an okay thing to happen to me. And some people even go as far as thinking that me, I want to I have these goals in my life. I've got these dreams in my life. You understand that? But I'm okay with the fact that I might not achieve these goals because at some point in my life, I might become a wife and I might become a mother and I'd have to stay at home and care for the children. That's an absurd idea to have in mind. That's a really, really crazy thing to think about yourself, but it's the reality. Fine. Okay. So it happens. The mother continues raising the children. Baby number three comes. So now you see that the more children you have as a woman, the more your body becomes, I don't want to use this word, but the more your body changes. Let me put it like that. The more your body changes. And now me, when I look at my wife, I'm like, she's no longer that petite woman I found her. I understand that she no longer has the body that she had when I first met her. So she's no longer that lady, man. You understand? So that's when infidelity kicks in. Because when I look at my wife, I look at this woman that's always indoors, not realizing that, hey, I put her in this position. And also, I don't do anything to help her. Because I believe that raising a child is not a mother's responsibility. It's not a mother's duty. Understand? I know this now that I've been a parent for quite some time. Not a long time, but I've been a parent for quite some time. So I'm realizing and I'm learning that raising a child or caring for a child, especially if a child is still in the newborn phase or infancy stage, the child doesn't know that this is my mother, this is my father. Understand that? It just sees two people. And it doesn't make any difference if me as a father, I wake up in the middle of the night, I change the diaper while my wife is sleeping, or during the day I tell my wife, listen, baby, you don't have to worry about this today. I'll bath the child or feed the child. You just go out. You understand? Just take some time for yourself. Look after yourself. Because I once told my wife this. I said to her, in order for you to be able to pour into our marriage, in order for you to be able to pour into our child or in our children, you have to be at your best self. She has to be at her best self because she cannot be pouring from an empty cup. That's when resentment comes in. If you find that you're pouring from an empty cup, there's nothing, nobody fills your tank. You understand? It's always removing and taking out, but you don't take the time to pause and say, hey, listen, now it's time to fill the tank that I'm pouring from. So if you're constantly pouring from an empty cup, then that creates wedges in your marriage, I believe. And also for me, in order for me to be able to pour into our marriage, to be able to pour into our children, I have to be pouring from a cup that is filled. So it's important for couples. I mean, let me just put it this way, because I'm not giving advice here. It's important for us to take some time for ourselves, for me to take time for us to do the things that I love, to do the things that make me feel alive, so that when I come back, I will be my best version. I understand. I know that I'm happy. I'm at my best self. So I will be the best husband. I will be the best father. Likewise, my wife, she is at her best self. She will be a best wife. She will be a best mother. So I believe in taking time for yourself. I believe in that so much, because I don't want my wife to struggle. I never want to see my wife struggle. Likewise, I also never want to struggle. I never want us to see ourselves struggle in our marriage. It's very important for us to stay happy, because that's why we got together. Understand that? Yes, marriage is not easy. And also, again, I'm going to say this again. This is not marriage advice. It's just me sharing my personal opinions based on my personal experiences. Yeah. So, no, let me just pause there, because I've got a lot to say, man. I've just got a lot to say, but there's a lot on my mind right now, but I'm just going to pause here. Now the question, where does that leave us? Where does it leave us? I don't know. Maybe being intentional fathers, being present fathers, because I think it's more painful to have a father in your house, but still feel like they're not present in your life. I think that's the worst thing that could happen to a child, being present in your child's life, but you're only present financially. You live under the same roof, but your child cannot come to you and say, a lot at a time, 1, 2, and 3 are happening in my life. I don't know how to navigate life right now. Because part of leadership, I believe, is that creating a space in your household for everyone to be able to be vulnerable, to express their emotions freely. So I believe that is part of leadership, and it's the responsibility of you as a man to create that environment. So if that part lacks in your marriage, in your relationship, I believe that there's a part in your leadership that's lacking. But hey, that is just my 2 cents. You see, let me just close off this video and everything with a scripture. All right, it's found in the book of Peter, 1 Peter 3 verse 7. It says, likewise, husbands, let us live with our wives in an understanding way, showing honor to a woman as the weaker vessel, since there is with us or with you of the grace of life, so that your prayers may not be hindered. May the good Lord bless each and every one of you.